I'll be in jail. That's the only reason. The court, excuse me, what happens is when they make objections, you wait before you answer. Objection number, overruled. The witness, got you. Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna reread that portion. Okay, and while you were out on bond, you were of the opinion that if you don't come here, I'll be in jail. Ms. Smith, objection, Your Honor, relevance. The witness, that's the only reason. The court, excuse me. What happens is when they make objections, just wait before you answer. Objection noted, it's overruled, proceed. The witness, got you. By Mr. Howard, question. You're of the impression if you don't come here and sit in the chair and testify, you're gonna go to jail. Answer, correct. Question. Okay, there are several instances in which Ms. Smith, prosecutor, that questioned you, showed you a statement that you previously gave. Remember that? Answer, yes. And you told us you remember seeing me in the deposition not too long ago. Answer, I said what? Question, you remember seeing me last week on Friday? Answer, yeah, I remember. Question, and you recall at the time that your statement to the detective was a few days after the incident? Answer, you say, do I recall? Question, that's what your recollection was at the time? Answer, yes. Question, a couple of days after? Answer, a couple days after. Question, and now after seeing the statement, you realize that it was 4 months later, right? Answer, you say what? You said what? Question, the statement you gave the police. Answer, you're telling me it was 4 months, or asking me. Question, pardon me? Answer, are you telling me or asking me? Question, I'm asking you. Answer, that don't make sense. If you were asking me, I told you it was there. It was 3 to 4 days after they died. Why are you asking me if it was 4 months if I just told you? Question, okay. So in the statement that you gave to police back then, you claimed that you had gone into the red vehicle in the rear seat, right? Answer, that was 5 years ago. To the best of my knowledge, that's what I said. Question, you're saying the statement was a few days after, right? Answer, what did, question, the statement that you gave to the police was a few days after the incident? Answer, yes. Question, and you said then that you had gone into the rear of that vehicle? Answer, to the best of my knowledge, yes. Question, and then you watched this trial unfold on TV over the last couple of weeks, right? Answer, no. Question, you didn't watch any of this trial? Answer, I watched it, but I didn't watch it unfold or whatever you're trying to say. Question, okay. You watched this on TV, this trial? Answer, on the phone. Question, and you saw a video of yourself get into the red vehicle, right? Answer, correct. Question, and you learned that the statement that you gave a few days ago, a few days after the incident was gone. Let me reread that question. And you learned that the statement that you gave a few days after the incident was wrong. Answer, because I said I was in the back and I was in the front. Question, yes, exactly that. Answer, that piece? Question, yes, that piece. Answer, okay, yeah. Question, you forgot where you sat in the vehicle a few days after? You can answer. Answer what? Question, that question, is that correct, sir? Answer, did I forget? Question, did you forget? Answer, I could have made a mistake and said I was in the back and remember that I was in the front. Question, so when you told the law enforcement officers that you had gone into the back of the vehicle a few days after the incident? Answer, that's what I thought to the best of my knowledge. Question, that's what you thought? Okay. And when you got to Melly's house that morning, you had a key? Answer, did you have a key? Question, no, I didn't. Did you? Answer, no, I didn't. Question, who had a key? Answer, I don't know. Question, do you know Of anybody having a key to Melly's house? Answer, I don't know. Question, okay, but you did gain entrance to the house that morning after you left the studio? Answer, yeah. Question, and then you said you just went and crashed and went to sleep in Judy's room, right? Answer, factual. Question, and you were awakened by your friend Drew? Answer, I did not say that. Question, were you awakened by your friend Drew? Answer, I said I was awakened by phone calls. Question, did you ever make a statement differently where you claimed that you were awakened by Drew? Do you understand the question, sir? Answer, I don't even remember getting asked a question. The court already stated your question, sir. Question, did you ever make a statement to the police? Answer, I don't recall. Question, okay, do you recall now being asked this question and giving an answer? Question by the detective. Then, so when you first saw Drew, when did you see him? Where did you see him at? Your house or Frida's house? Answer, at the house in Miramar, at Melly's house, okay? He woke me up. It was like, come to the hospital. You said that? Answer, I don't recall. Question, don't recall? All right. When we spoke to you last week, you said you were awakened by phone calls from Christopher Thomas's mom, right? Answer, plenty of phone calls, different people. Question, pardon me? Answer, different people. Question, different people. And the one that you answered was Ricky. So you were awakened by a phone call from Ricky. Answer, to the best of my knowledge.
Hey guys, you just tuning in, man. We're checking out this YNW Melly murder trial, man. He had murder on his mind. Last name Demons. Go figure, right? Came back on.
I smoke when I smoke. Question, you smoke when you smoke? Answer, yeah. Question, and when's that? Answer, when I smoke. Question, and when would that be? Answer, when I smoke. Question, how many times a day? Answer, twice, 3 times maybe. Question, and on the night in question, before you got to the studio, on the day in question, you had smoked at least 2 joints, right? Answer, that's your guess. Question, that's what you said, right? Answer, I don't recall. Question, okay. And when you got to the studio, you were smoking, correct? Answer, possibly. Question, were you or were you? Answer, that was 5 years ago. Question, you forgot? Answer, I don't recall. Question, and you were drinking Hennessy, I believe, or do you not recall that either? Answer, it's possible. Question, possible, but you don't recall. Answer, I don't. Question, okay, so you don't recall much from that night then, do you? Ready? Fair? Answer, right. Question, and when you got in the red vehicle and left, you went to sleep in the vehicle when you left the studio, right? Answer, yeah. Question, and you didn't wake up until you got to the guard gate? Answer, I woke up when we came to a stop. Question, you did not wake up until you got to the guard gate. Am I right or wrong? Answer, I woke up when we came to a stop. It was at the guard gate, yes. Question, have you ever seen track of a gun? Answer, it's possible. Yes, maybe so. Question, okay, you don't know of any friction between Melly and Anthony Davis at any time. Anthony Williams at any time. Answer, not that I know of. Question, and you don't know of any friction between Melly and Christopher Thomas at any time. Answer, not that I know of. Question, you didn't see any friction at the studio that night of any kind, did you? Answer, I didn't. Question, you did? Answer, I didn't. Question, with respect to your daily marijuana regimen, did you smoke before you came here today? Answer, I did not. Okay, I have nothing further, Judge, thank you. The witness, I should have. The court, counsel, is there any redirect to Ms. Smith? Briefly, or Judge? Briefly, Your Honor. Redirect examination by Ms. Smith. Question, Mr. Glass, did you live in Broward County back in October of 2018? Answer, I did not live here. Question, okay, when did you come in relation to this incident in Broward County? Answer, I was picked up probably, I don't know, I was picked up on the weekend or something like that. Question, so how would you, I guess, date how long you were here prior to the incident time frame? Answer, 3 days, 2 days. Question, okay, so you were not a full-time resident of Melly's residence? Answer, I was not. Ms. Smith, nothing further. This witness excused? Yes, Your Honor. You may step down.
Last testimony, so you may now retire and continue with your deliberations. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, and we're going to let the jury step down. Counsel may want to defend. Counsel, I have no other question. Thank you. Came in back. Questions? What is the version? What is and I find that's well, I find that's can I get that just in writing? All right, that's fine. I'm sorry. That's what I started with. I'm sorry. Oh, good. Sorry, what did you just say? You must rely on testimony. Anything else you want to say? Steve, all right? There are food service, so we're going to go back to this time. You know that? Lunch. Lunch. When should we be back? Something up to the real. Fine? Yes.
The 30-minute window thing was talking about when.
Yes, you have our numbers. All right, we agree with you, Madam Secretary? Yes, all right, so we need to avoid. All right, thank you. Thank you, sir.
The readback of Travion Glass's testimony is now complete, so the jury has heard it all. We are going to start taking your questions now, so keep them coming to us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and Threads, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Michael Bryant, host here at Law and Crime, and also an attorney, is here with me. Afi Patterson is an attorney here with me as well, and Mina Lona, a SiriusXM host, is here. Thanks everybody for being with us today. So let's get to our first question. Smurf Duh Gemini from Twitter, Michael, why did the phone say mobile the whole time, and we know that we had to stop at red lights?
Why did the phone say? Oh, as if it was moving. Is that their question?
Yeah, Melly's phone said mobile the entire time they were driving, and then it says outside stationary when you exit the vehicle, according to the prosecution.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the technology, as you know, I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm guessing that it requires a certain period of time actually motionless before it registers as something other than mobile. That'd be my best guess.
All right, let's get to this next question. This is for you, Afi. This is from @JustChillin here, and we've heard from @JustChillin here quite a few times from Twitter. Do the defense attorneys in this panel think that the defense picked a good strategy with taking Melly out of the crime scene, or do they think there could have been a better strategy?
So I think they had to choose. So I think they wanted to rely on their alibi witness. And their alibi witness said he wasn't there. They said he was at the house at the time of the murder. And I also think that they didn't have to get a crime scene reconstruction expert, and it saves them having to just add explanations because we knew Melly was likely not going to testify. And, putting him there would have required a
So, just wanted to talk to y'all real quick while we wait, man. I just, um, interesting enough, man. The kid's name, the kid's name is Demons. Like, last name is Demons, obviously. I just find that real, like, crazy. Like, if my last name was Demons, man, I'd be trying to change my name. Real talk. It's really like that's something we have to delve into too, man. Talking about the power in words, man, and names, numbers, and things like that, man. That's a whole nother conversation. But as we go on this spiritual journey and stuff and start learning more about the spiritual realm, those are the different elements of it that we need to be more inclined to know about. So we will discuss it. At some point, I'm gonna do a video about it. I got a video or two that I'm gonna drop today. Well, may drop one today. Wait, may drop one tomorrow, man. But couple of other interesting things as it pertains to two of the videos that I just recently put out. So be looking for that. And also something that's got to do with the Jamie Foxx stuff, man. Kind of ties in with that stuff. So I'm gonna put something out about that as well. But yeah, I would have changed my name, man. Honestly, Miss Black Barbie, I would have changed my name. Like I ain't running around with no last name Demon. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it just don't even make sense that you would do that. I mean, shit. If it was my mom, I don't care if it's my mom last name, my dad last name. I'm not running around with no last name Demons. It just don't make sense. Say the evidence kind of crushes the defense. Well, I mean, it's a couple ways you can look at that. At the end of the day, the prosecution has the burden, of proving their case. He's innocent till proven guilty. He has an alibi, and I can't say it's trump tight, but he got an alibi. He do got an alibi. So yeah. What's up, Debbie? What do y'all think, man? So I feel like this. I'm gonna tell you. I feel like if he gets off, then it's probably a murder by a sacrificial murder through those folks. So I feel like it's a possibility he could get off because it just made no sense for him to even do it, man. Like I don't understand. But like I said, he said he got two personalities. And I need to play that, man, that like the video where he's saying this, he got two different personalities and all this stuff, man. Notice how these folks that be possessed, they always talking about they got two personalities. Eminem was saying that stuff, wasn't he? Okay, Jay-Z was saying that stuff. Beyonce, two different personalities. Katy Perry. Who else? This dude, Melly Demons. Dang, it's some other folks, man. It's a lot of folks. It's a lot of folks. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I try to put out as much content as I can, man. Trying to get back up on YouTube, build my channel back up. I done went through this rebuild several times now. I think we're gonna do things a little differently this time. I know a lot of people don't like messing with like Rumble and stuff. They like to go to YouTube. So I try to get back on there for you guys, man, and keep something coming, but YouTube has been a stickler. They tough on me. They really are.
Deliberating yet again the fate of YNW Melly. Let's bring in our panel, including Terry Austin of Law and Crime. Terry is down there at the Broward County Courthouse. Terry, bring us up to speed about this readback and what was going on in the courtroom as it was happening.
Well, first of all, we heard a question from that jury. It was the first question, and they asked about the call logs for 9807. And then they also asked about witness testimony, which you just mentioned, Anjanette. We heard some of that. And they were asking for Trevion Glass to be read back. And also Michael, and we would remember him, it's Michael Kelly. He's the one who was the crime scene investigator. He talked about trajectories. And they also asked for someone called, Cortland, but they got the last name wrong. They said Sutherland. That was corrected later, and it was Cortland Henry. Then they said they didn't need that testimony because it was the investigation. They wanted to hear a little bit more about what he said, but they decided, no, we don't need that. So ultimately, the bottom line was the judge said, look, we can read to you what the testimony was as far as Trevion Glass is concerned. It will take a little bit longer for the court reporter to pull together the testimony of Michael Kelly. And so she's working on that. But we did hear her read the entire testimony. And frankly, a lot of it was, I don't know, I don't recall, and I don't think this is going to refresh my recollection. We mentioned this before, and I'll just end with this. I do think the parts of his testimony that the jury wanted to hear was who was in that car and whether or not what Melly was wearing was the same as the beginning of the night. And so it's really going to be up to the jury to determine whether or not he is credible. And I will say that part of the defense did read when they were doing their cross-examination about why he was there, and he was subject to charges if he didn't come and testify. So that jury's going to have to determine whether to believe his testimony over what they've seen from the defense side.
There was also some testimony. I guess they asked him if, it would refresh his recollection to see his prior statement about whether or not Melly left and came back at some point that day. Was that right, Terry?
That's right. And he said, no, it's not going to refresh my recollection. So from an evidentiary standpoint, if the witness says it's not going to refresh their recollection, then it doesn't get to be read in, and it wasn't read in, and he didn't say anything more about that particular issue.
All right, just briefly, Terry, we've got the first question coming out to you, the first question of this block. This is from Tracy Dye 00437-887 from Twitter. Who was escorted out of the courtroom today during the jury questions, if you know?
Yes, I actually saw that. It was packed this morning on both sides of the courtroom, and on the victim side of the courtroom, they get an entire side reserved for them, of course. And there was a phone that went off, and when that happens, the court personnel is very strict about that. Those Broward County officers will take a look at where that ring came from, and immediately the person is escorted out. There's no conversation. They get a point towards them, and then they sort of get a finger out, and they're escorted out. And frankly, I've seen them say, you're not coming back. And so we'll see what happens. I'll look to see if that person comes back. But yes, it was one of the individuals who was sitting in the audience today who got escorted out for her phone.
Very interesting. All right, let's get to more questions. And this next one goes to Michael Bryant. Michael Jorgensen from YouTube, who is a frequent question asker here. Does the longer the deliberations go lean more and more toward a hung jury? Do the questions give you any indication of what the jury is starting to think?
Yeah, I think in general, if we can generalize here, longer could mean they're hung up on something. In this case, where are we now? 5 hours, a little more than that, not counting the feedback period. That's not long enough to really get to that point. Maybe, if we're having this conversation Monday or Tuesday, maybe. And it really depends on whether it's a big split. Is it one person they're trying to, put in a headlock and change their mind? You just don't know at this point. And what we've heard, as I mentioned before, and Terry just mentioned, that statement given by Bortland to the police was first a concern and then not. Now we know that the Trevion Glass testimony in its entirety was important. I think if we hear them ask for Adrian Davis to read back his testimony, that may be enlightening. To me, that would totally laser focus their concern, or somebody's concern, one of them, 11 of them, on this whole alibi. And was it believable that Melly Melly was not in the car when the shooting took place. That Melly was back
He
home,
was in the car.
just sleeping away, and he got the bad news right along with everybody
Right.
else. That would be critical to me.
So this one, Mina, I'll send over to you. It is from Ron Janae. I'm hoping I got that one right from YouTube. Do you guys think that the jury is confused because they asked to restate someone who didn't even testify?
I think it is and can be confusing. There are a lot of names and a lot of moving pieces. And then I think the other confusing part is also their government names versus their street names. You know, Jameson Francois versus Track. I think that can be all very hard to keep up with if you're not writing it down. I mean, even in my notes, I made little, you know, I have all these graphs and things going on just to keep track of all the moving pieces. And it does become confusing. And it's very evident from them even getting Cortland Henry's name wrong, which is literally a co-defendant. So he's one of the main names, the main people that are also involved in being accused of this murder, and they can't even recall his name. So I can see them being very confused in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to ask for more of the testimony from other witnesses. And also, we have to mention the prosecution had 27 witnesses. So to remember all the members of YNW, and then their adjacent friends like Fredo Bang, and then also all the 27 people that the prosecution put on the stand, it can be a lot for a jury.
It is a lot, and there are a lot of names. So I could totally see them getting the last name, Cortland Sutherland versus Cortland Henry mixed up. Terry, that brought a question to my mind. Were any of these jurors, or I don't even know, were they allowed to take notes at all? And if so, did some of them take notes?
Yes, they were allowed, Anjanette, and yes, some of them did take notes. Not many, though. You can't really see below the rail, but I know for a fact because they're leaving their notes down. I would say probably 4 of them are taking notes at this point, and perhaps they didn't catch the name. I mean, Nina is absolutely positively correct. If you don't have that list written down and you don't have the alternate names written down that each of them has, I think it's very hard to follow. And so I think altogether, all of them deliberating may not have had that full name. And remember, his name is Cortland and Bortland and, Henry. So he's got multiple names. And so it may have been difficult for the jury to remember.
And just speaking from personal experience, I found myself going back to the testimony. I found myself going back to a lot of the testimony and re-listening, and they don't have that advantage. So I can see them being very confused by just listening to the testimony once.
Yeah, I always do that too. Like at night, I'll go back sometimes and listen to it again. I just make sure I didn't miss anything, that I heard everything right. So they do not have that advantage, and it's tough. Our next question comes from Facebook. Michael Asti Bryce asks, I have 2 questions. So we've got 2 for you, Michael Bryant. If the defendant is found guilty, what charges would Cortland Henry face? And secondly, do lawyers get paid extra for a win in court?
That's interesting. I guess let me answer the second question first. It kind of depends, because in civil cases, a lot of cases are contingent, and a win generally means you're going to get a bigger share of money from the win. Criminal cases, not so much. You may get more hourly fees as a result of some work that you've done. And a lot of folks who are paid hourly charge a certain amount up to trial, and then at trial, the fee goes up, the hourly rate goes up. But it's not necessarily tied to a win or a loss. You can still pay the same amount if you lose. What was the first part of the question? It was, the charges that Cortland might face. Well, he's now basically looked at as an accessory after the fact, although I think he is also charged with the first-degree murder. It's almost a felony murder analysis there, because there were murders that took place while he was in the car. I don't think they're going to put the gun in his hand. So the biggest claim against him, and it relates to that hospital statement the jury was waffling about whether they wanted to see or not, is what part he might have played in any cover-up. If the drive-by shooting was just a cover-up, what did he have to do with that? I think his concern, if the jury, especially if they convict Melly, his concern is going to be as an accessory after the fact. If they acquit Melly, that may change the dynamic a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, other charges might be leveled against him. Very interesting.
I'm going to take this next question because I can do it really quickly. So from YouTube, Team Pretty 20 asks, how much time is he looking at for manslaughter? If he is convicted of manslaughter, that lesser included offense, it's a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison, and then I believe something like a $10,000 fine. So we'll knock that one off the list. Nicalia Lancaster from YouTube, Nina asks, what would be the reasoning for them wanting to hear Mr. Glass's testimony?
It was very crucial. I mean, this is where we found out that Melly was at Fredo's house after the alleged murder. This is where we found out that Melly had a change of clothes and he had shorts on. It was very crucial and important. And it was also our first time hearing from someone that was actually there the day of the crime. He was in the studio they were all in. He could testify and speak to the fact that there was no conflict in the studio. That was actually a question that I had. What happened in the studio? Did anything happen in the studio that led to some kind of conflict that could have resulted in these two young gentlemen being murdered? I wanted to know that, and he provided those answers. He said there was no conflict in the studio. People were sleeping. That's why we left. This is also the first time that we find out that it's a 12-hour prepaid studio session, which to me is very important, because to me it says Melly went into that studio that day to be there for 12 hours. So now I'm questioning, was this premeditated? Because it was a prepaid 12-hour studio. So his testimony was very crucial, and it allows us to go to that day and go in that studio and see what happened and see how Travion Glass recalled Melly's movements even after the alleged murder.
All right, keep the questions coming to us, and we'll take more of them when we come back. Throw them to us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok, and Facebook, and we'll get to them when we get back. I'm Anjanette Levy. You're watching Law and Crime.
Yeah, man. It's talking about the case and whether the man was going to be found guilty, innocent, or he was going to get acquittal or whatnot. I think regardless, at this point, they will have he will get another trial. If he does get found guilty, he'll get another trial because of some mishap happened, man. I don't recall exactly what happened, other than it was a lady. I think it was YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend's mom or something gave some information she wasn't supposed to give or something like that. They could have declared a mistrial. So they're gonna be able to fall back on that regardless at this point. But that still doesn't negate the fact that he very well could be found guilty now, and then they could go back and change that later. So, but either way, man, I think if he would have changed his last name from Demons to something else, man, he probably would have been all right right now. That's a big part. Say pure blood. That's what's up, bro. Hey, we pure bloods too, man. It's not a lot of us out here. Not a lot. It's not a lot, man. It's less of us. Anything. Yeah, it's good to see all of you guys, man. All you guys in good health, man. You know, I like to think that majority of us will be around later on when stuff really hits the fan. Really have already, man. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Like I said, I was going to stop talking about a lot of that stuff. We will talk about it a little bit on Rumble and stuff, man. But I will say, man, I've seen more death, man, in the last year, man, than I've probably seen in my lifetime. I kid you not. I've seen a lot of death, man. And it's been close. It's been back to backs to backs, man. I don't know. Every time I talk to somebody, they talking about a dang funeral. I kid you not. I kid you not, man. Every week I'm hearing about somebody got a funeral. Shoot, I got family members close to me. I done lost a couple people, man. You know, I got friends that have lost people. So, but I'm not gonna talk a lot about that stuff, man. You know, it is what it is. You know, and we can't. You know what I learned from all of this, man, is we can't change the past. You know, we can't correct mistakes that others have made. We just gotta do what's best for us, man, and keep living in the moment and paying attention to the signs and growing and developing, you know, our own subconscious mind, our own conscious mind, and the fact that knowing more, like think about it. The biggest part I take from all of this, man, is that we understand what this world is and what it isn't. You know what I mean? Like we understand what this world is and what it isn't. Like think about this for your whole life. And I don't know for everybody, everybody's different. But for majority of your life, you thought the world was something else. You thought it was something else. And that's why I'm bringing up new stuff, new information, new content stuff, man. So we can start talking about this world that we really in. You know, we're going to talk about what we thought. We're going to go back and rehash some of that stuff. But we're going to start talking about the stuff, the world that we really in. How this world has evolved. The different mechanisms at play. Okay. Different things that we should be inclined to know that will help us spiritually. It'll also help us understand how to navigate this world that we in now. Now that you know you're in a different world, it's like now you know you're in a different game. Like if you've been on a Monopoly board the whole time, but you've been thinking you was on a checkerboard and you was only, or you was on a checkerboard and thinking you was on a chessboard and thinking you on a checkerboard the whole time. So you thinking your movements are limited. You see what I'm saying? You thinking that you can only do this and this world only does that when it actually moves totally different. So you've been operating off of rules for a game that don't even apply to you. You understand what I mean? So we got to look at things like that, man, and start like building ourselves up mentally, you know, consciously, building our spirit up so we really know what's going on.
Questions. The jury finished listening to a readback of Travion Glass's testimony just a short time ago. So let's get to more of your questions and keep them coming in to us as we await that verdict. This one is for you, Terry Austin. Jamer Lee from Instagram asks, why don't jurors have access to video of testimony while deliberating? It seems out of touch to have to listen to a readback.
That's not important. Anyway, we'll pull it back up in a second, but yeah, see, Debbie said currently detox, but I heard mRNA is a muscle and can't get it out. Debbie, man, you know, like I can't really speak on the that technology, man. I would like to think, because we do have good doctors and stuff that are working on our behalf and are looking out for people. They're trying to do what they can, and that's why I've come with some of the information I presented that's supposed to help with that stuff. Now, does it reverse it? Not necessarily. So we start talking about the IV and whatnot, man. These are things that they've advocated for that will help slow down that technology, to slow down the spike. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to speak on everything, you know, till its fullest extent, because I don't want no problems. You know, so I'm trying to float on the radar. But like, that's why that's always important. You know, from my understanding, they have been promoting and advocating for that because that's supposed to slow it down, and at least it's supposed to protect those that have not taken that. You see what I'm saying? It's supposed to protect from that shed piece. Okay, so you definitely want to get that if you haven't, guys. And I'm just telling you because we're not gonna get this information from the sources that we have at our disposal. You understand what I mean? Like, they're not going to tell us the things we need to know to survive. They're going to tell us the opposite. They've been doing that our whole existence, telling us the opposite of what we need to know, telling us stuff, false stuff, fabricating stuff, making you believe that you take this or take that and you'll get live longer, or you'll kill yourself or this and that, when it's the opposite. Everything they tell you is the opposite. Like, they send you to take these certain meds and things, man, and it's the opposite. So you're not going to get the right information. But yeah, detoxing, man, that is like huge. I don't care what medication you have been prescribed to. I don't care what they've told you to do. I don't care what kind of treatment they've advocated for you. First and foremost, and I put it in several videos, man. Like even the doctors around the world, they actually know this stuff. They know it, most of them, that the first root of curing anything is first dealing with the parasites. First dealing with the parasites. And that's like in some doctor's manual, like it's like the doctor's Bible or whatever, where they know that that's the root of all ailments. And yet they still try to skate around it and try not to tell you. So first and foremost, you need to deal with that, man. So for us, and we got to understand that I've been showing you guys who runs this world, and I'm gonna do more videos showing that. We also know who runs the media. Like these folks you looking at right now, my guess would be maybe 1 out of the 4 might be like you and me. You know what I mean? Maybe 1 out of the 4. Maybe 4 out of 4 might be, all bad. But understand this, they run all the different aspects of our lives. They're not telling us the stuff we need to know. They tell us the stuff that's going to harm us. Okay? So we got to understand that same approach when we talking about medication and stuff like that. And we got to figure that stuff out ourselves, what's best for us. You see? So for us, man, detoxing is first. That's priority number 1. People that don't know the detox, man, I personally believe, and you're not going to hear this from anybody you ever see on news, I personally believe that is the primary reason why people die early. I believe that's the primary reason people come down with all kind of mental disorders, depressions, and suicides and all that stuff, which you can look that stuff up. It's actually factual. But I'm gonna put it out there on the table that I believe that is the reason why people tend to go in that direction at some point in their life if they don't, in some way or another, address those issues. Because if you don't kill parasites, what do? They just grow. They just migrate throughout the body, and they hatch more eggs and more eggs and more eggs and more eggs until what? Like they in there, they got to eat, right? So what are they eating? You see what I'm saying? What are they eating? And where are they going? How long are they in your system before they cause massive destruction of all kind of bodily organs? So first and foremost, man, however you got to do it, you need to be detoxing, getting that stuff out your system. People that go a whole lifetime without detoxing, man, they probably gonna meet their demise a lot earlier than somebody who got that stuff out their system. Because let's be honest, they not in there repairing or building up your health or building up your immune system. So what are they in there doing? And if everybody got them in there, and the health industry is not telling you to get them out, and we know who run that industry, that's all the information you need right there. So let me play this some more.
They use their logic and they figure out what actually happened if you have enough corroborating evidence. So the point being, if you have those shell casings, if you have the trajectories, if you have all of the information from the phones, putting everyone in the same place at the same time, if you have cameras where you can piece it together, if you don't have a gun, and you have all of that other information in a case like that, I do think the jury could come to a conclusion that there is a guilty verdict. But we'll have to see if there's enough evidence here for the jury to come to that sort of conclusion. What I will say, it is much more difficult when you don't have that weapon. So it's going to be hard for this jury.
We shall see. I think I got that right on Instagram, Michael Bryant. Can he be found guilty of killing one of them but not the other one? Or if he gets found guilty, will he be responsible for both?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it crosses over into the felony murder issue that we've talked about early on, and where the judge decided that was inappropriate because we couldn't determine which person died first. Bizarre analysis, in my opinion. But having said that, in theory, yeah, he can be found guilty of one without the other, but that defies logic. I mean, how would that exactly happen? I mean, talk about holes in the fact pattern. Now we got tons of them because there's just no suggestion that there was a second shooter or that somehow the drive-by maybe killed one and not the other. But technically, yeah, they could find he is responsible for one of the deaths and not the other. That would be bizarre.
Let's get to some TikTok questions now. This one's for you, Mina, and I hope that you've done your studying on the cell phone data. So if not, that's fine too. But that was a lot of information to process. It comes from Trey Joseph 23 from TikTok. Couldn't the phone have been given back to Melly when Portland met back with them at Fredo's?
I mean, anything could have happened. We just don't know what happened. You know, the phone is a big contention here. Who had the phone? Where was the phone? Was it outside? Was it in Melly's house? Was it at Fredo Bang's house? I think that's the problem with this case. We don't know for sure, and everyone has a different interpretation of the phone evidence that is there. But I do think the prosecution did a good job of making sure that we know that the phones are tracking all together. And then also outlining when the phones actually split apart from car to car. Did I get an A? Was that good?
I think you got an A. I think we need to keep in mind too, there was the text with the pin to Fredo. So if you're sending a pin to Fredo and Fredo's coming to pick you up on Miramar Parkway, then how on earth? You know, that's a lot to think about. How on earth are you sending a pin and then not having your phone and then finding it back at Fredo's after Cortland gets there? And then Cortland had already had all of his stuff taken at the hospital. They took his clothing and everything, and they seized the Jeep. So,
well, I think the timing is also really important because Cortland got to the hospital at, I believe, 4:35, and I think the pin came down, and correct me if I'm wrong, at 4:42. So to answer the question, you can't be two places at once. So by the time the pin was sent, Cortland was already in the hospital.
Hey, and Jeanette, I have a question.
I
have a question.
Yes.
How far are we really in the not too distant future from saying, you know, there were texts, there were phone calls, somebody dropping a pin. It was AI. You know, there were no text biting people. There were no phone calls biting people. There were no pins dropped. AI did it. That's who you're looking for, AI. I don't think it's really that far off before we're going to hear those kind of weird arguments.
I mean, I think you're probably right about that. AI terrifies me a little bit, especially when I hear about all these warnings from scientists who've been working with it. Yikes. So you may start hearing that sometime in the future. Who knows? Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll take more of your questions. Keep them coming in. I'm Anjanette Levy, and you're watching Law and Crime. Stay with us.
I'm Shane with Junk Removal Authority, and I do the sales for our company. We've been able to partner with them and kind of work through those needs and challenges as, you know, work use grows and scales alongside of our company. We have some unique needs with a call center and having so many partners. There's integrations that we need that are going to be unique, and they've been fantastic as far as getting those integrations done in a timely fashion and helping our customers, you know, ultimately get more jobs. So the benefit for our junk removal companies to use WorkEase is that it integrates everything into one system, right? So we're not having to bump around to different apps all over the place. It's really easy for the owners and the crew out there in the field to interact with one app, right? So it flows together really smoothly for the customers, for the owners, and for the guys in the trucks. So we have a customer, right? Customer books online. The online booking, you know, goes into the WorkEase app. From the WorkEase app, you can sign it and dispatch the crews. So let's say it's noon. The online booking comes in. It's a 2 o'clock job. You can dispatch the trucks. The customers are getting text messages letting them know that the trucks are on their way. And then the owner knows as soon as they get there that they've arrived. And, you know, it just integrates into one. So you can take before and after pictures. You can upload them to the WorkEase job order. And then the owner can see the stuff in real time. So you can see, make sure that the teams are quoting correctly. Once the job gets done, they'll close it, take payment from the app. And as soon as the text leaves, they'll shoot a message to the customer to get a 5-star review. Once the job's complete, then the owner can review it if they would like, right, to make sure that the job is priced correctly and that everything went smoothly, and the customer leaves a 5-star review. So it's just great to have an all-in-one system that integrates everything. online booking to the actual getting there on the job, follow up, and then disclosure with all. Workies is the best system that we've seen. We have a call center. Dairy has a call center. We work with hundreds of companies in the call center, and Workies is just, if you're looking to grow and scale your temporary business, you have to get Workies. We pretty much made our companies use it, right, because it's the best thing out there. But it's even from the beginning, Workies is pretty much the best system that we've seen, and we highly recommend it to anyone getting into the industry.
The homeless problem is getting worse, it's not getting better. Crime is getting worse, it's not getting better. Regulations are getting worse, it's not getting better.
People are bailing on California in record numbers.
More than half of Californians are considering moving. It might be harder to find a U-Haul than to find your next home.
The exodus of people moving out of California is not new.
No sane person would want to leave California if they could make it here.
For the first time ever, people are leaving.
In 2020, California lost 600.
Yeah, people been leaving California in droves. They've been out of there. So I don't blame them.
Welcome back. I'm Jeanette Levy. We're taking your questions in the YNW Melly double murder trial. We are in verdict watch. The jury is deliberating after hearing a readback of the testimony of Travion Glass, one of the witnesses for the state in this case, who was at the recording studio that night. So we're in verdict watch. Keep it tuned right here because we are going to have that verdict for you when it comes in. For Terry, I'm going to send this question over to you. It's from TikTok and it's from Reba9488. Is there cell data showing the phone location where the "I did that" text was sent?
Well, no, because the "I did that" text was sent after the shooting occurred, and it was messaging back and forth between someone and Melly, where he said, "I did that." I think it was Gibbons who was the other individual who sent that message to him. And the message was, "How are you? Are you okay?" And this was after the shooting. And then theoretically, we see Melly saying, "I did that." But I don't see those messages as matching up. I don't see one as a response to the other. It seems a little bit out of context. The prosecution believes that that is an admission, but the messaging was not related at all to the actual shooting, and it wasn't tracked as far as where the cell phone was at the time that that message occurred.
The next one is Big Pook _ from Instagram. What do you think the jury is thinking, being that they asked for that testimony, Michael Bryant? This is again about the Travion Glass testimony.
Yeah, I really just think it all gets down to the alibi, and I'm really curious if they ask for Mr. Davis' testimony. That'll solidify that in my mind, that they are really focusing on whether or not Melly got out of that car, whether or not he was just at home when the phone rang and they learned about their friends' deaths. To me, that's it. That's the second part of that puzzle. So to ask for his testimony in and of itself, yeah, maybe they were just curious about the change of clothes, because remember, he said, "I don't know," and I don't recall more than he said anything else, and whatever you show me ain't going to help. So if it was just his testimony, then it was probably about the clothing change.
Let's get to the next question. Mac2K from YouTube, Nina asks, if Melly gets found guilty, will the alibi witness, Adrian Davis, be charged with anything for basically lying on the stand?
So I'm not an attorney, but I know enough to know that if they wanted to, they could, but the likeliness, I don't think it's going to be likely. But if the attorney, if you guys want to correct me, but from what I've seen before, they can if they can prove it. But I think what they're trying to do here are get the murderers, right? And not so much the liars.
Yeah, and you did a great job answering that question because they really don't do perjury very often. So good job with that one. Mrs. Navalta from YouTube, do you think that since the jury asked for the testimony of Mr. Glass and Mr. Kelly, that the jury could be leaning more toward a guilty verdict? Terry, do you have any feeling on that?
Well, yes, at first I did think that, because if you think about the testimony of both of those witnesses, one, Trevion Glass, he said Melly changed clothes and he did not see Melly get into another car. So that does favor the prosecution. And for Kelly, for Michael Kelly, he was the crime scene investigator. He basically talked about the trajectory of the bullets, and he was actually not on the stand that long, but the jury, I think, wanted to reiterate what he said and see exactly what it was that he said. And so both those things do sort of favor the prosecution. But when we heard the testimony of Trevion Glass, one of the things that went through my mind was they're probably trying to determine his credibility. And like Michael said, most of the time he said, I don't know, I don't remember, or nothing is going to refresh my recollection. The only piece of information that he really did say in my mind is that clothing. I don't think he really seemed as though he knew what was going on after, the shooting and whether or not Melly came back to Melly's house. He knew Melly came back to Frito Bang's house, but it didn't seem clear to me when they read back whether he went to his own house. So I think all in all, it's probably a wash. We'll see if they ask any more questions about testimony. And again, I agree with Michael. If they ask about Adrian Davis, then that is telling you that they're trying to figure out who's telling the truth. And they see that as two pieces of very crucial information.
Michael, really briefly, we have to hit this break here in about 30 seconds. Ebony Palmer from YouTube asked if Melly was found guilty, does he still have a chance for an appeal, even though earlier the judge asked him if he was satisfied with his lawyer's performance, and he said yes.
Yeah, he'll have lots of appellate rights. And even the ineffective assistance of counsel, which is what that judge note alludes to, you can still make that argument. And even though it was a weird thing to ask in open court there, I have to say. Won't affect him, though. He'll have plenty of opportunities.
Things always come up on appeal. They get new information or what have you. The appellate lawyers, if they're different, will find other information maybe that the defense attorneys at trial ignored. So you just never know. All right, guys, we're going to take your questions after the break for a little bit here. So stay with us. I'm Anjanette Levy. You're watching Law and Crime. We'll be right back after this break.
No, y'all ain't been paying much attention to the case. We've been talking about everything else. But yeah, do I think he guilty? Do I think he did it? Yeah, I think he did it. I think that he's got split personalities. I think the devil talked to him. And y'all remember, guys, I showed you videos where they were talking about the connection between parasites and evil spirits and things. You see what I'm saying? This stuff, man, is a lot deeper than what we've been taught to believe. I think he did it, man. I really believe he did it. I think, for one, man, people, he say he got split personalities, right? Well, what about somebody that's schizophrenic? You see what I'm saying? They got split personalities. But you know what they always say? I hear voices in my head. Voices in my head. What else has also been linked to voices in the head? Parasites. You see what I'm saying? Parasites. Also coincides with what? Suicides. Thoughts telling you to do stuff. Think about it. When I did the video, man, it was showing you how those certain insects and animals would do things even insects would commit suicide based off of if they got a certain parasite in them. So you don't think that our scientists and whatnot have the technology and understand how to utilize that? They already studied it in animals and insects. You don't think they would apply that to us? You think they want you to live? You don't think they would apply the same technology to cause them to commit suicide? You don't think they apply that to? That's why people commit suicide. And see, when you're going into taking your regular, scheduled immunizations, things like that, you don't know what the hell they injecting you with. They can inject you, like we've learned that they use that. They inject what? We saw what they did with the wall. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna go left, because y'all know where I'm going. But I think that's a critical piece. And see, it's not a lot of people that's putting all that information together. That's why we so lost, man. Not a lot of people, and they definitely ain't out here speaking about it, They definitely ain't out here speaking about it. But if you start thinking about it, man, you start using your mind and putting the pieces together, like, it make all the sense in the freaking world. It don't even take a rocket scientist. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything I talk to y'all about, man, I've well researched it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when I sit here tell y'all, parasites have been linked to depression and suicide. If you got friends and stuff, or family members that have committed suicide stuff, it's very possible that they had parasites, right? We also understand that it's been linked to dementia and Alzheimer's. Why has parasites been linked to stuff with the mind? Why has it been linked to stuff with the mind? Why are they being found in your mind? Why were they trying to put parasites in your mind if they don't have no power over your mind? Why has it been linked to insects and animals committing suicide? Why can animals and insects commit suicide? But if you had them same type of parasites in a human being, they wouldn't have the same thoughts. And what is it that's telling the insect or the animal to commit suicide? Same thing as in a human being's head telling them to commit suicide. You see what I'm saying? Like, man, we in a wild, wild world, right? So I ain't gonna get in all that, man, because y'all know I'm trying to float under the radar, and I can't be talking like this. That's crazy. Deranged. Hey, what's up, G? I appreciate you, sweetie. Thanks a lot for the support. That's what's up. Spaz Co-World Wide Inc. Incorporated. That's what's up. Yeah, I wrote a book. I didn't get it published though, man. I wrote that book at like 22. Man, it's actually a long, but it's a suspense action thriller, man. Like I told y'all before, I was in the film director, acting, and all that, man. So I went to school for that initially before I ended up changing my major, like after 3 years, went to criminal justice. So yeah, stuff I started seeing, man, dealt with music, dealt with modeling and such, man, dealt with the entertainment industry. And, I was connected to some people, man, and I saw things, I saw some things that kind of led me to believe that there was some stuff going on in Hollywood and everything else, on top of what I was learning, like I was always researching. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It might be one of those sacrifices.
So stay here as we continue to follow the verdict. Also, we're taking your questions for a little longer today in the trial. So keep them coming to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. We have so many platforms now, hard to keep track of them all. Our next question for our guests comes from Ty from YouTube. Do you think the jury will have a hard time with the conviction, given the fact that the state never put the gun in Melly's hand? So, Nina, I'll send that over to you.
I think they're doing a good job of building what they think happened, even without the gun. I think that recreation was really critical with that. It kind of depends on what you want to believe, right? Do you want to believe that the medical examiner and the recreation of the crime scene? Do you want to believe that? Do you want to believe some of the people that are witnesses, particularly Adrian Davis, who says that Melly wasn't even in the car? I think it just really comes down to what you remember. There's so much information. We're getting text messages and pictures and contradictory witnesses. And it's hard to keep track of, especially as we mentioned with all the names. So I think this really comes down to what do you remember and what makes sense to you? What's plausible, what's not plausible?
Makes sense. I think that's a perfect answer, Mina. Let's get to our next question. Get Black with Me from YouTube. Do you think since there was no weapon found that the jury might pick the manslaughter charge, Terry?
Well, I think there hasn't been a theory put forth for that manslaughter charge. We know that the prosecution asked for the charge. It's a lesser included charge for the murder charge, for that first degree premeditated murder. And I think it was done to sort of have an alternate theory for that jury to consider. But even during the closing argument by Bradley, she basically said there's nothing here to show or to support the manslaughter charge. So I don't think the jury is going to get to that issue. I think it's either going to be that first degree murder, or I don't think they're going to have any theory for that manslaughter. Remember, you don't have to intend to kill someone for manslaughter. You have to have an intentional act that ends up in causing the death of the victim. But what would that intentional act be? Were they playing with the gun and they shouldn't have been pointing it? None of that has been established in the trial. So I don't think they're going to get to that. And I think the absence of a gun in general isn't going to really affect that manslaughter charge at all. And Anjanette, I just got a message that there is another jury question that just came out. They haven't announced it yet, but I just thought I'd let you and the viewers know that.
Oh, thank you for that update, Terry. You're so on top of it down there. I'll be interested to see what that question is. Do you have any feeling or do you see any movement around there letting us know potentially whether or not this question will be read soon? I assume all of the lawyers are just kind of hanging out around there waiting for either a question or a verdict or what have you.
Well, that's right. I mean, initially the judge said 45 minutes, then he changed it to 30 minutes to come back. And I saw the defense team say, look, what's the time frame? Because you said 30, but you were ready before that. So they are hanging by the courtroom very closely, and they are down there now. I don't think they've read it off. I will also say, Anjanette, as we were leaving, there was another jury question that we haven't even talked about besides the testimony readback. And the jury wanted to know the exchange rate for meters to feet. And the attorneys all agreed, and the judge agreed, that they should just let their recollection of what that testimony was just serve as the answer to that question. The answer hasn't been given back to them, but they will be told, whatever you remember, that's what we should go with here. They're not reading anything back for that. So this next question could relate to that, or it could be something totally new, but we should see that shortly.
Wow, this takes me back to running track in high school. 1,600 meters was a mile, 4 laps around the track. 400 meters was a quarter mile. We'll see what happens with all of that. Maybe somebody back there ran high school track. Let's get to this next question. This comes from Malcolm Chandler from YouTube. Michael Bryant, 100K track. This is Melly's manager. His phone and Melly's phones were both together on Pembroke and US 27, the crime scene. Is this why he turned in the phone to avoid accessory after the fact? We had that testimony about him having possession of Melly's phone and later turning it over to law enforcement who had a warrant.
So it was a good idea. And what his motivation to do it was, who knows? But it's certainly an important piece of evidence. Those phones, they've been quite the headache in this case. I think it's just common sense. Unless he's trying to hide something, why not turn over that phone?
Yeah, most certainly. And they had that warrant. I read some court documents about the whole thing too. It was pretty wild. Let's get to our next question. Gavin _ Davis43 from Instagram. Actually, I'm going to skip that one for you, Mina. I don't like that one for you. Let's send you something else. From TikTok asks, hi, Law and Crime Network. Do you think that the prosecution is relying on witness statements? How do you view it, Mina? I mean, we heard testimony from many witnesses in this case.
I think they're just throwing it out and see what sticks. They're just basically putting everything out there, and anything that they have. So I don't think they're relying too much on witness statements. I think they have a plethora of evidence, and it's all different. You have medical examiners, you have people talking about cell phone data, you have the recreation of the actual car, and then you have an eyewitness. And then you have the lead detective. So I think they have a variety of different things that they presented in order to try to, secure their guilty verdict.
Reba05 from Twitter. I think we've heard from Reba before as well. If the jury is asking about non-witnesses, could that result in a mistrial? I think she means, Terry, the fact that they asked about the name mixed up. Probably a mix-up of names, but if the non-witness has a connection to Melly and the person was not mentioned during the trial, then it seems a juror may have been doing the outside research. So could this whole name mix-up thing cause a mistrial?
I don't think it could cause a mistrial here because it seems fairly definitive that the name that they came up with, this Cortland Sutherland, was not a real person. So I don't think anybody was doing any research. No one got some other names from the outside. They came back and said, oh, we meant, Cortland Bortland Henry. So they just basically got the name wrong. And just getting the name wrong isn't a reason for a mistrial. It was clarified. That's the purpose of having these questions. You don't hear everything all the time. Even with 12 people deliberating, not everybody gets everything. So the system allows them to ask questions, and then the judge will talk to the attorneys and they'll figure out what the answer should be. So I don't think in this instance getting that name wrong means anything at all, except somebody didn't hear, or many people didn't hear exactly what it was. So no mistrial for that.
Let's get to another question here. We get a lot of really good ones coming in. Chosen One from YouTube. Why were the messages stating they killed all of them already and the picture was a target over his face never investigated? Could lead to the shooter. So Chosen One, Michael, is asking about messages stating they killed them and the picture with the target over his face. They had talked about
After we went to lunch, I received one message from the jury signed by the foreperson, and it basically is the boxes checked, requested new evidence. I think rescind previous request. It was on stage jurors requested two. One is to hear the testimony of Michael Kelly. I've rescinded your request. We apologize for anything previously. Open your way back to Mr. Kelly. Secondly, is when Gail was in there, I guess, trying to get him lunch or something like that, regular lunch. He received from not the foreperson, but a short note. It was folded up. That's it. And it was folded up. He passed it in. It says, are we allowed to have Apple watches? Someone has one. It's not signed or anything without the message that was passed to me. And that's why we got the message. I can try to get everybody to come back to you, but just talk about it.
Was that another jury? Overture.
Yes, cool. We're going to wait for 1 second, so I want Gary and
okay.
I'm going to just want to respond to them. Okay. talk to you about this. One of the juries does have an Apple Watch, but it's taken away, not taken away, but they presented it to Gary, and they asked for it, the other day before the jury deliberation. So it's a huge trees all the phone to copy, and it's so big to that. And that's the let's put it up on the watch on it now, or it's not a smart watch. And you see the responses that they say, they've only responded to a smart watch. We'll take the next step and we'll see where we go. But I'm going to ask the jury as a whole if anybody has a watch.
Your Honor, with respect to that, the only suggestion that I would make would be for the court to inquire if anybody does have an Apple Watch. When they go back to the room, please give it to Gary as opposed to them being castigated in front of the public.
I still need to know though, if somebody has a watch and they give it to Gary, I need to know, make sure they haven't used it. He specifically, I instructed him I can't have it back. I don't know that I ever talked about smart watches or Apple Watches per se, and I know the standard instruction which I read to him, I told him I can't have electronic devices, phones, cell phones, any electronic device have to be interior incorporated. He collects everything, so he has it stored. So let me just take it one step at a time, and we'll see what they say, and then if we need to inquire further, we'll talk about it. Okay, all right. So who's asking your yes.
The third?
We got another question.
I'm not going to make this appropriate to read the Allen chart based on that specific comment. I can print copies for the court and counsel.
Well, it says here, what if we can't come to a decision? Doesn't mean they're in impasse now. Everyone is stuck on which side they're chosen. So if they say they can't reach a decision, that's one thing. But this doesn't really say they can't reach a decision. It says, what if you can't reach a decision?
I think they're saying they have not, and what if meaning what is the procedure that we follow now that we are in that place, as opposed to what if that eventually happens. So we interpret it a little bit differently, Your Honor. As to what we should do about it, I'd like to confer with co-counsel. As to the other, this is the part that I know the court's not going to like. We have made a position, taken a position that the statements that were requested at the same time and should be read back at the same time. Now we've received a situation, and now we've come to a situation where testimony that by a state witness was put on, and I know we're reading tea leaves, but because we're in that position, we need to account for every eventuality and possible scenario. I would hate for it to be that the jury that has now rescinded its request for the other testimony has done so because they have now been either browbeaten or convinced of a certain position because they lacked the ammo in terms of Kevin's testimony to retort. So I know that forcing the jury now to read the transcript, which they have said they don't read, might not be optimal. And so in order to preserve our objection, I would not propose that, but I would move forward on that basis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So there's a motion for Mr. Brown, the state was referred.
I want to make sure I understand. The motion for mistrial is based on the jurors rescinding their request.
That's the way I understand.
Well, it's based on the fact that we did not provide them the two statements at the same time, and now a request has been made to rescind, the request to see one of them has been rescinded. So it's not the fact that they have rescinded, it's the fact that the court denied our motion to read them at the same time, and now that has resulted in them rescinding the request for one. So that's the basis to be complete.
My question stays to respond.
No, you're not manifest necessity.
Thank you. Motion denied. All right, so what I'm going to do then is, and what do you want to do about the Allen church? Does the state agree that my decision is defended?
you guys got to print it out so we can look at the pound charge, if they could, and then we need a few moments to discuss it with the court's permission, I'm sorry.
It's all fine, well, and good. That's fine, go ahead, we'll be with you.
Thank you.
It's too loud.
I would be a little concerned. And I don't think the prosecution made their case, so I'm actually not surprised.
So, Miguel, with so much evidence to go over, we know they asked for the readback of Trevion Glass, very important character who was there that night in one car, doesn't remember anybody switching cars. That is critical for the defense analysis. They focused on a couple of other minor things, but does that tell you anything when you put that together with this latest question about, hey, what if we can't come to a decision?
Look, I think it seems like it's premature, right? Because we're only about 6 hours and change into the deliberations, and they're already asking a question like that. And they had testimony read back to them. And so I think they need to go back and deliberate more. I think this is premature. And I think there's something to be said about this being Friday and they're sequestered, right? They're not looking forward to not being at home, not having their own life on the weekends. And so they may be trying to see if they can wrap it up quickly, but I definitely think this is premature.
Yeah, I'm confident they're doing their job, but, they're humans, and they've been at this now for a long time, and it's enough already. Again, if the initial impression within the group is that we're just not going to come to terms on this. Let's go into court here for the moment in which that particular question from a jury member was asked.
Vetted this counsel, the assistant state attorney. So what I was sharing with you regarding the message from Gary's last name was that yesterday when we started second jury deliberations, Gary asked for all their electronic devices or phones, including smartwatches and Apple watches. And in fact, one of the jurors has an Apple Watch and presented it to Gary, and she has secured all the other electronic devices. Is that correct, Gary?
Yes, sir.
And secondly, he's also indicated that
We're okay with that in total. We are.
I'm a small business owner. I have two.
Oh man, guys, I don't think they're gonna come up with. They might. I don't think they're gonna come up with an answer today. I think it's gonna take a
We're
while.
fine with that as well. The third paragraph, I don't think is necessary. I don't think it's indicated here. And it says there is nothing to disagree about on the law. The law is as I told you. If you have a disagreement about the law, I should clear them up for you now. That should be my problem, not yours. I don't think anything about any question or any statement the jury has made so far implies that they're unclear about the law and they have a set of jury instructions there. So we would object to that paragraph. The fourth paragraph reads, if you disagree over what you believe the evidence showed, then only you can resolve the conflict if it is to be resolved. We would prefer that it says only you can resolve the conflict if in fact it can be resolved. The words, if it is to be resolved, that phrase has a certain sense of inevitability, which seems like it's urging them to resolve it. And so we would ask that to be changed to if in fact it can be resolved. The next paragraph we would like eliminated completely. And it says, I have only one request of you. By law, I cannot demand this of you, but I want you to go back in the jury room, then taking turns, tell each of the other jurors about any weaknesses of your own position. You should not interrupt each other or comment on each other's view until each of you has had a chance to talk. After you have done that, if you simply cannot reach a verdict, then return to the courtroom and I will declare this case mistried and will discharge you with my sincere appreciation for your service. I don't think we should be telling the jury how to go about the function of deliberation and suggesting to them that they each get up in turn and give a dissertation as to what they think the weaknesses of their own position are. I think is an unconstitutional intrusion on the function of the jury in this deliberation, and we should object to that. The final line says you may now retire to continue with your deliberations, and we're okay with that. Excuse me, one second.
Your Honor, I have a vague recollection of any modifications to that being a problem. I'm trying to read, I believe it's out of this circuit, 2015 Almeida v. State, and haven't had a chance to read it in full, but I have.
But you're objecting to the change?
Yes, I'm trying to read through the notice. Thomas versus State, which is a Florida Supreme Court case that will be Southern Second, 970, 10.1, citation point 978, and it says in part, a somewhat similar situation arose in Young versus State, and it cites Young versus State, where the court held that the judge's deviation from the standard jury instruction by one sentence was error. I know that there's a lot of case law on just disapproving a modification of the Allen charge, which makes position will be that it should be read in total to the jury as to not comment on what portions or not. I think to isolate certain paragraphs would be truly suggested and have a negative impact on their
Your Honor, I'd like to know if that case that you read concerns jury instructions at large or an Allen charge.
Allen charge.
It is an Allen charge.
Who asked for the modification, the state or the defense?
Yes, Thomas, the defendant, asked for the Allen charge for the standard jury instruction after the jury deliberated. The standard Allen charge is not negotiable.
And it says that a modification can be or is error.
It says, in Young versus State, we cited in the Thomas case that the deviation from the standard instruction by one sentence was error.
Okay. So it's all contextual, so we want a chance to take a peek. I guess I know this one.
Well, this is my question, though. The way I read this jury inquiry form, it states, what if we can come to a decision question mark? Everyone is stuck on which side they chose. That's the question. So, are you telling me, both sides telling me that they interpret that the jury is deadlocked. It doesn't say that to me. It says, what if we can? It doesn't say we can't come to a decision. It doesn't say they're deadlocked.
The second part does. That we're stuck in our respective camps. So that's the declaration of deadlock.
They agreed, so indication they have deadlock.
So if both sides agree, this is interpreted as a deadlock and they're stuck. Is that what you're telling me? Both sides agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then I'm going to read the Allen chart. I'm not modifying it. That's a standard that's been around for 40, 50 years. I'm not modifying it. The state objects to any modifications not agreed. I'm not going to modify it.
Can we take a chance and look at the case law? See whether or not there's some distinguishing language. Thank you.
You can highlight this and set
I apologize. That's no problem.
We're happy to look at whatever case you want.
Thank It was as to whether or not the effect of their further deliberation. So in other words, it's giving them an Allen charge and it's telling them, and even if you were deadlocked, I'm going to send you home, which is completely different from the substance of the charge itself.
And I think, at least the way Thomas interprets the argument, saying that the judge made that error, and that was the judge's suggestion to modify the deed, and defense objected to the modification. So that's, yeah.
So I don't think I need to speak further to the distinction there, which is the defense saying if the jury is saying they're deadlocked and we've read them Allen charge, and Allen charge says that if you still can't, case over, sending them back in for another day would be an element of compulsion that would be unconstitutional. So we could see where that, but we'd like to see if we can distinguish in any other cases. And Allison wanted me to make this point, which is pertinent, which is that in that case, the defense was the one that objected here, the defense is requesting. So we would have waived our opportunity to object should the court grant it. think in Young, that's in Thomas as well. It's the same issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, Your Honor, the Thomas case that the state cited was Thomas v. State, 748 Southern 2nd, 970. It's a 1999 case, Supreme Court of Florida. And that also cites to a state, Young v. State, which is 711 Southern 2nd, 1379, and 1998 case out of the 2nd District Court of Appeals. And the state has represented the issue that Thomas addressed. I'd like to just read some language here from Young that indicates that Young was treating the same issue. In the very second paragraph of the opinion, it says the jury began its deliberations in this case near 5 p.m. on the second day of trial. At or near 9 p.m. it informed the court, quote, as a group we cannot agree on a verdict, end quote. The trial judge made the decision to give the jury an Allen charge. It is proper for the trial judge in a criminal case to give the standard Allen charge where it appears the jury is deadlocked. The trial judge also decided, however, that he did not want in this trial that night and would bring the jury back the next morning. So it's the same issue, which is we're going to give you an Allen charge, but it's not going to be effective because you still can't reach the verdict to bring you back tomorrow. So it's the same issue in Thomas, and we think that's different from the notion that a Allen charge cannot be modified at all to suit the circumstances of a particular case. Here, I don't think there's any need to tell them about the law because nothing they've said implies the law. And we also think that it invades the province of the jury to tell them that they should each get up one at a time and explain the weaknesses of their position. That is not only counterintuitive to an advocate, and they're advocates for their respective positions. It's counterintuitive to an advocate, and I think it's an unconstitutional invasion of the province of the jury to conduct their deliberations and discharge their constitutional function as fact finders without our interference. So we object.
State, anything else? So let me ask you this, how do you want me to, my thought is, I'm gonna handle, this question first about who's got a cell phone, if anyone. I'll ask them that as a group, and then I'll read the second inquiry form, as what if we can't come to a decision, and then I'll read the jury, deadlock. I understand the defense's objection to it, the instruction's been around for over 40 years, stood the test of time.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to read this before the court. I understand the court has made its decision, but Mr. Adelstein brought something to my attention out of the Thomas case, which is a Supreme Court case. And it says, as noted, every Allen charge issue must be decided upon the particular facts and circumstances surrounding an individual case. So that goes to the issue of individuality and whether or not it should be tailored to the circumstances of a particular case. And we're taking a position that mirrors what the Supreme Court has declared, that modification of Allen charges is not foreign. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court has directed that it should be tailored to the circumstances surrounding individuals. So that we maintain our objection.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So we want to bring the jury in?
Yes, sir.
Jurors entering.
Dang, is the jury back already? Are they literally about to read this man his verdict?
jury and the latest one jury. Let me show two things. First, I received a note from my bailiff did. It's not signed by the foreperson, but it's a note that was handed to him. It says, "Are we allowed to have Apple Watches?" Someone has one from one of the members of the jury. As I tried to explain to you earlier, all the electronic devices are basically, we're not allowed to have those in the jury room. So we asked our bailiffs, Gary, to try to collect them. Does anyone have an Apple Watch? Yes or no? In their possession? I asked the question. Does anyone have one? No. I see everybody raising their hands or several raising their hands showing they don't. All right, there's no Apple Watches. Thank you. The second thing I want to do is, based on, I received this juror inquiry form that is signed by the foreperson that reads as follows. State of Florida versus Janelle Devins, case number 19-001-872 CF10A. Check the box, ask the following question. What if we can't come to a decision? Everyone is stuck on which side they've chosen, signed by the foreperson. All right? So what I'd like to tell you, or read to you, is an instruction. It's called Jury Deadlock 4.1. And it reads as follows. I know that all of you have worked hard to try to find a verdict in this case. It apparently has been impossible for you so far. Sometimes an early vote before discussion can make it hard to reach an agreement about the case later. The vote, not the discussion, might make it hard to see all sides of the case. We are all aware that it is legally permissible for a jury to disagree. There are two things a jury can lawfully do: agree on a verdict or disagree on the facts of the case. There are two things that a jury can lawfully do: agree on a verdict or disagree on what the facts of the case may truly be. There is nothing to disagree about on the law. The law is as I told you. If you have any disagreements about the law, I should clear them up for you now. That should be my problem, not yours. If you disagree over what you believe the evidence showed, then only you can resolve that conflict, if it is to be resolved. I have only one request of you. By law, I cannot demand this of you, but I want you to go back to the jury room, then taking turns, tell each of the other jurors about any weaknesses of your own position. You should not interrupt each other or comment on each other's views until each of you have had a chance to talk. After you have done that, if you simply cannot reach a verdict, then return to the courtroom and I will declare this case mistried and will discharge you with my sincere appreciation for your services. Ladies and gentlemen, you may now retire and continue with your deliberations.
Dang, so they going back in. Okay, well that's what it is. Okay.
We'll recess.
All right, guys. So what we gonna do, man? We have to cut this short because I don't think we finna get nothing in the next hour or so. Probably gonna get something Monday, man. Is what I'm thinking. So we're not gonna stay on here trying to wait on it. I might do another video today, man. I got some material I was looking at. I kind of wanted to put out there. Thinking about it. Still thinking about it. Might do something tomorrow. If I don't do it today, I'll definitely do something tomorrow. Maybe do 2 tomorrow. There's 2 different videos I want to kind of get into. So yeah, so yeah, guys, we're gonna cut the live short. Hate to do it, but we ain't gonna sit on this thing. Could be 4-5 hours. It could be tomorrow. Yeah, make sure you got your notifications on, man. Yeah, make sure you on the new channel. I put the link, man. Make sure y'all on the new channel. Go to the new channel if you see. Let me see if I got it up here. Hold on. It's the new channel right here. If you don't have the new channel, you need to get the new channel. Channel actually growing pretty quick, man. Because I've been putting everything over there. Y'all make sure y'all get to the new channel. I got it up on the screen. Boom. The new channel. Make sure y'all get to it, man. Because that's where all the videos are going to be now. I'm gonna put them up there. We going to still do some stuff, man, on the other channels because we you know what we do. We talk about stuff you ain't supposed to talk about. So we going to do that. But we going to build up the channel, man. So if you're not on the new channel, get over there. You ain't seen the new videos, get over there. Watch the new videos, man. Appreciate you guys. Everybody's been supporting, man. Like I said, if you're trying to order one of the products, man, we talked about all the situations with the parasites and everything, man. Obviously, we got the IV. Got the IV $30 for the week supply, $60 for the 2-week supply. Got the DE Parasite Detox. That's $40 for the 10-day supply. Then we got the Body Shot Detox. It gets those more fibers out your system and those nanos. Find out you're magnetic. You might not know it. You might need to check. Yeah. And we got that. The Body Shot Detox, man. That's a 1-dose bath. That kills that stuff. Gets all that stuff out your skin, man. Man, you don't know what you're dealing with. But got that. That's $45 just for the Body Shot Detox. Then we also got the Genesis Pineal Gland Decalcifier. Genesis is $50 for the 30-day supply. $100 for the 60-day supplies. It's recommended that you take it for 2 months. You can take it long. A lot of people use it like ongoing because it does such good health for their body and stuff. And it also kills a lot of stuff that they've been putting in your body, a lot of bad things, man. Specifically the Candida, which is it's a bad fungus. Like that's something that everybody gets. So do it for that's something, man, that you can get. Also, that's that package with the Body Shot Detox and the Pineal Gland Decalcifier. That's $135 by itself for the bundle. The IV along with the DE Parasite Detox, that's $80 for that bundle. Okay, you can do both bundles together for $200. And now, if you out of the country, I told you, it's $60 for shipping and handling. If we're shipping outside the country, that's Australia, that's UK, that's London, that's Canada, that's Brazil, that's everywhere. Okay, so make sure if you do order, man, you send your cash out to Net Most Wanted. Also, you got the PayPal option, paypal.com//me Net Most Wanted. Okay, put your address, guys. Put your address. Make sure you put your address, and if you can, put your order, whatever you're ordering. If you can't do it in Cash App, you can always send an extra $1. That way, you can put another note about your address and anything else you got to do. All right. So hope everybody understands. Hope everybody's good, man. Like I said, I'm putting out another video probably today or tomorrow. Just look out for it. But y'all be safe, and I will catch you on the next video.